Welcome to the Richard Sherman Podcast. If you're new, hit that sub button. We're here to give you great NFL content. Stay tuned.
We saw some double headers in the Monday night landscape last night, and the Bills, laid an absolute shellacking to your favorite quarterback in the league, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Richard, what in the world happened here?
Well, first off, Bills Mafia has to be ecstatic because going into this season, there was some concern, there was some doubt, and I'm sure they'll say there wasn't. They knew it all along that these receivers and this offense would be just fine, regardless of the situation, regardless of losing Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and all the pieces that they lost. And James Cook has been playing really well, but what Josh Allen is doing right now is elevating himself into a different stratosphere than he's been in previous seasons, because just like Mahomes did when Tyreek Hill left, he answered a lot of questions. Hey, can he do it without Tyreek Hill? Yes. Can he still be an MVP caliber player? Is his level of play going to fall off? It's not. It's going even higher. And that's what Josh Allen is showing the world. Hey, it's me. Hey, everybody eats, B. That's what he said. Paid in full, Mitchell. Everybody eats, B. And everybody's eating. He's distributing the ball to everybody. Keon Coleman is doing it. Khalil Shakur is doing it. You see Dalton Kincaid getting involved a little bit. You're seeing everybody touch the football, and it's really cool to see him have an MVP caliber season, showcasing himself. And you're not sitting there saying, hey, Stephon Diggs is having an amazing game. And man, what would he be without Stephon Diggs? He's answering those questions really clearly with an exclamation point. And you have to give him and the Buffalo Bills, this defense, who have a lot of young guys playing really, really good football. Von Miller is looking like his old self. Got another sack last night. I think they had 4 or 5 sacks in the first half. It's looking like a really formidable team, and sometimes it's addition by subtraction. And when you're not so focused on getting one guy to football and featuring that one guy and feeding him and making sure he gets his touches, then it opens up the whole offense, because the defense can't double him. They can't cloud him. They can't push the coverage towards him. They're spreading it out, and Josh is making phenomenal decisions. He deserves a ton of credit for everything he's been doing. But on the other side, and we have to get through this, because Bills Mafia, I'm giving it, this team is incredible. This is a Super Bowl contending team. They will be in my power rankings top 5, and deservedly so. I was wrong. I thought this team would have some growing pains early, that they would have to adjust and things. They're still a quality football team, and McDermott is gonna, he's a good coach. They're gonna be competitive, but I did not expect them to come into the season, go undefeated, and just be so dominant. They just beat Jacksonville dominant. They beat Miami dominant. They've looked really good. The only game they didn't look super dominant is against Arizona, and Arizona is one of those wild card teams that just is giving everybody a tough time. It's one of those weird schemes, and offensively, Kyler Murray is a different kind of guy. It's unique, but against a team that's straightforward, normal football team, they're doing a great job. But on the other side, like Trevor Lawrence, and I know, Mitchell. They call me a Trevor Lawrence hater. I'm not. I don't hate the guy. He's a good person. I'm sure he's a good person. I judged a football player. And what I was told was a generational talent, and people said I'm too hard on him. So I'm trying my best to be objective. Give the guy a fair shot. But what I won't accept is people calling him a top 10 or putting him amongst the elites when the tape doesn't say that. Like, that's not his fault. He's not telling them where to place him. But the tape doesn't say that. And the amount of money they paid him, the tape doesn't support him getting paid that amount of money. And let's go through a couple things, because I want to talk about this Jacksonville team. Their defense is not playing well right now. Let's get that straight. They've played really well in years past. In years past, they've had, been amongst the league leaders in takeaways, and that's what's allowed them to have success. When they have runs and they have great success, it's because their defense is creating turnovers, and Trevor Lawrence and the offense is capitalizing. When the defense does not create a turnover for Trevor Lawrence in this offense, he's 1-21. 1-21, Mitchell. So this defense knows if they do not create a turnover, they're not winning the game. And they have no takeaways this season. They're the only defense without no takeaways. That's going to be tough. That like when you're a $55 million quarterback, that can't be the case. Like when you talk about game manager and system quarterback and putting all these labels and parameters on guys, but when guys have generational talent, you don't judge them the same. You say he should be doing this. He should. What is he actually doing? And in this case, Trevor Lawrence is not getting it done. And you heard some things from Doug Peterson. You know, everything is on the table as far as, you know, maybe making changes because something got to change. But I don't think anything's going to change. I don't think anything's, I mean, the Jags are 30th in points per game. They're 30th in third down offense. And every time people find excuses to give Trevor Lawrence, oh, it was somebody else's fault. What about the false start here? What about when you're talking about a $55 million quarterback, that's why he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. You don't, at $55 million, benefit of the doubt is gone. We're putting it on you. Wins and losses are on your back. Good, bad, or indifferent. That's what they're paying you for. They're paying you a lot of money. They're not paying anybody else that kind of money, top positional money. They're not paying anybody else that kind of money. So yes, it's unfair responsibility, but that's what you're getting paid. Your paycheck says, hey, responsibility. And so when I look at Trevor Lawrence, and then I look at guys like Gardner Minshew and what he was able to do in Jacksonville. And I know Jacksonville and Duval fans know this very well. He did all right. You look at what Jameis has done in his career. Jameis has done all right. If you really go down, let me give you some stats, Mitchell. You got a second?
I do. Fire away.
I'm going to give you Gardner Minshew's stats, his wins, his losses, his stats. Gardner Minshew's record is 16-24. That's a 40% winning percentage. 40%. Completed 63% of his passes, 62 touchdowns, 27 interceptions, a 90.3 quarterback rating, 18 fumbles lost. Okay, so what is that? Right. 45 turnovers, give or take. Okay, 45 turnovers. I'm going to look at Jameis Winston. 34-46 record, 42% winning percentage, 61% completion percentage, 141 touchdowns, 99 interceptions, 87 passer rating, 24 fumbles lost. So a lot of turnovers for Jameis. Those two guys are career backups now. They're in and out. Sometimes they start. Gardner obviously is the starter for the Raiders right now, but a lot of people don't look at him as a starting caliber quarterback. Except he's doing really good. I think he's a starting caliber quarterback. I think Trevor Lawrence, and we're going to go through Trevor Lawrence's record, 20-33, 37.7% winning percentage, 63.2 completion percentage, 60 touchdowns, 40 interceptions, 84.5 passer rating, 21 fumbles lost. Now, people are going to call me crazy because he has a different label, because he was labeled a generational talent coming out, because he's handsome, he has the long hair, he looks the part. He's just a name brand Gardner Minshew. He's a Gardner Minshew with a better outlook, with a better packaging, with better draft position. Like for what they're getting right now out of Trevor Lawrence, they could have kept Gardner Minshew and they would have got at least equal level play. Like maybe you're not getting elite play, but you're not getting it from him. And that's where I get frustrated where people argue with me, because it's just what the tape says. Don't argue with me, argue with the tape. Be mad at him because what he's putting on tape, and you're going to sit there and say, well, the defense didn't do this, the defense didn't do that. Well, Trevor Lawrence, it has to do, Gardner Minshew got to deal with some bad defenses sometimes. He got to deal with some receivers dropping the passes, some false starts. You don't make those excuses for him, because certain people you just say, well, he's a backup. What do you expect? But when it's your guy, you sit there and say, hey, how can we figure out how to qualify this? I don't see it right now, Mitchell. And I don't see 55 million, and I hate to beat a dead horse, but like at some point you got to see it. At some point, you're paying a guy $55 million. You have to see something. You have to be able to elevate your team. You have to elevate the guys around you. And it's not like he doesn't have a talented team. It's not like he doesn't have a good tight end, pretty good receivers, a good running back in ETN. He has a good coach in Doug Peterson. Now people are ready to call Doug Peterson a bad coach. Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, had Carson Wentz looking like an MVP candidate for a good portion of the season that season. But now, since the quarterback isn't playing well, they're saying, well, Doug Peterson's the problem. How much are you going to do that? Like, you start to see when the conversation is different. It's like, wait, so now the coach is the problem. So then you replace the coach, and then you give him a few more years to figure it out. And then you say, the next coach is the problem? No. Like, at some point, you have to see what he's projected to be, and he's not showing it.
For me, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think the bar of whether you how you assess a good quarterback is how they elevate the players around him. And he's got playmakers around him. I mean, ETN, Christian Kirk, they just went out and spent big money on Gabe Davis, who was hardly involved in last night's game.
Ingram was a Pro Bowl tight end.
Yeah. I mean, Ingram's out, and that was his safety net last year, but you just spent a first-round pick on Brian Thomas. Like, the playmakers are there, right? Who does Josh Allen have to throw to? Khalil Shakir, the guy called in the offseason, a great game last night. Dalton Kincaid, I mean, finally showed up last night as well. Keon Coleman, their top pick of the draft. Like, Curtis Samuel. I mean, Richard, these are relatively unknown names, and you got a guy playing across from you that is just elevating all of these guys. He's got fantasy owners were loving life if you had any of the Bills players on your team last night, because they all went off in that first half. Trevor Lawrence, on the other hand, Richard, I mean, you don't have to watch a whole lot of Jaguars football to realize this team is in a very, very dark place when they're on prime time, getting absolutely shelled at half. I mean, come on now. And I'm with you. Trevor Lawrence, the expectation with him 2 years ago, Jaguars got hot. They were one of the hottest teams in the NFL. I think they had a 6-game win streak. And I think everyone got distracted by that win streak and what they saw with Trevor Lawrence in those games. Over the last 2 years, Richard, you just really haven't seen it, and you haven't seen it in clutch moments for sure. Last night was super eye-opening. And what you're bringing up with Jameis Winston and Gardner Minshew, the question I have for you is what's going to change this? Because obviously the talent is there with Trevor Lawrence. He wouldn't have been a first overall pick. He wouldn't have led Clemson to a title game if the talent wasn't there. The talent is there. But what gives? What's got to change for him to, turn his career around at this point?
Well, Mitchell, it has to be, he has to be consistent. If you're saying it's the play calling, then you got to find something that works for him. Like, I don't think people are like, well, if you put him in a situation Mahomes is in, I don't think if you put him in a situation Mahomes is in, if you put him in Josh Allen, if you swap quarterbacks for Jacksonville and you put Josh Allen in Jacksonville and you put him with the Buffalo Bills, I don't think the Buffalo Bills are the same team. I don't think they're winning all these games. I don't think they're as dominant. I think Jacksonville Jaguars would be a better team. And so that goes to show you, but they're both $50+ million quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And things aren't created equal. That's why I say this cap system is broke. You guys are letting these quarterbacks hold you hostage. You got guys like Geno Smith playing incredible football, trying to get the Seahawks to pay him what he deserves, and he's not getting it. You got Sam Darnold probably going to be looking for some decent money come soon because he's playing like an MVP caliber quarterback right now. But he's making $7 million or so, and you got $55 million getting to skate by. And I think I don't even know if he has 400 yards on the season. He might have a low under 500. It's been 3 games, and they're 0-3, and nobody's really. They're still sitting there saying like, "Oh, it's everybody else." No, he's part of the problem at this point, because even if you say the defense is terrible, they gave up 47 points, unacceptable. Okay. It's not like they got beat 37-47. It's not like they got beat 30-47. They got beat 47-10, and the starting quarterback was on the sideline, and Mac Jones was in the game trying to figure it out. That's how bad the game is. You pull a quarterback in the game. You have to start to see that. The Buffalo Bills look really good. The Buffalo Bills are a good team. And that's where I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave it at that with this
Yeah.
team because I'm very frustrated. Like the quarterback rankings and the way we look at them have to be year to year. You can't be sitting here draft position or what they did a few years ago. What are they doing right now? In the first 3 weeks of the season, what have they done? It shouldn't be like, hey, I know he's not playing good the first 3 weeks, but I know he's still top 5 because he did something 2 years ago. No.